Well, a disappointing series for the Tampa Bay Rays against the Seattle Mariners. And also, we have some All-Star Game updates as well.
Yes, we do. A 500 road trip should not sting this badly. So let's try not to make it sting this badly. And let's get over the All-Star news starting right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every day. Be sure to check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays. You can also find us on all the social media platforms. Well, not all of them, but Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays. And you can email us anytime, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Before we get into the meat of the discussion, anything, Ulises, you want to address from the weekend series that was against the Mariners, where Friday the Rays blow up for 15 runs after the Mariners took a early 4-0 lead. Saturday, Glasnow struggles versus lefties. The Rays get back into it thanks to Luke Raley, and then Jalen Beeks does Jalen Beeks things and blows it. And then Sunday, the Rays had a 6-1 lead versus Luis Castillo early in the third inning. You would think that that would be enough to hang on. Of course, there were a lot of occurrences and odd things that happened over the course of that game on Sunday, from collisions to doubled ups to balls that probably should have been caught, to Jason Adam walking more than Gandhi. And the Rays lost that game too. So.
Yeah, no, that was really a good rundown. I mean, 60 seconds or less of the whole series. Fantastic how it opens up, right? You know, they come back and they come back, bigly. They just put it up on the board. It was great. The middle game, those things happen. It's the third game that bothers me the most when you have that much of a lead. At one point, let me make sure though, 1, 2, 6, it was 6-1 at one point.
Yeah, 6-1 in the third inning against Luis Castillo. You would think that'd be a dagger enough against the Mariners, but evidently not. And then and you had the whole weird collision which delayed Taj Bradley, and I don't know what Ty France was thinking, if he thought he could knock down Isaac Paredes, but Isaac is a brick poop house, so that didn't work out well for either party.
No, and I feel like when you look at that type of game, you got to hold on to it. Last week, you yourself said one of the signature moments of this Rays team was when they came back against Garrett Cole 6-0, and I agree with you, and I think most Rays fans would agree with you. Losing 6-1 against Luis Castillo, that's the opposite of signature moment. You pick the adjectives there on the comment section, YouTubers, and please hit that like button, because it's still just, it sucks. And I get it. Look at the record. Okay, they're 57-30. When you look at the standings, it's not even close right now. 5.5 against Baltimore. Like it's a sizable lead. So you really shouldn't be crying over this, but it's just that you can't trust this bullpen. Can't trust it. And I think that's the big part of this issue. It's just you can't trust it, man. And I don't want to hear June they were so good. Yeah, and in May they were horrific. So what does that tell you? This bullpen is kind of average. It's kind of mediocre. It's kind of middle of the road. Don't tell me, well, June was great, so obviously everything's going to be great. No. This larger sample size is not just June. Larger sample size is 87 games that they've played. And according to FanGraphs, they are 27th in F4. Okay. It's not pretty for the bullpen. And if you want to go a little bit, searching for more things, I'm xFIP They're fourth worst at 465. They're right next to the Colorado Rockies, people. It's not good. So I know they're the always defenders of the Rays will come up with ways to say, no, that's fine. I don't think it's fine. And I don't think the majority of Rays fans think that it's fine. And I think this is the biggest issue, Kevin. Look at all of the categories that makes up a baseball team. Hitting, running, defense, starting pitching, bullpen. Where can you point the finger and say, that's not going well? It's neither of all of the ones I mentioned. It is the bullpen.
Yeah, it is really concerning, and it definitely is not October caliber or deep into October caliber. And maybe the Rays are banking on Drew Rasmussen being able to facilitate a multi-inning relief role, among others. But I think moves are going to have to be made because Jason Adam doesn't have it. A lot of other guys don't have it either. And as much as we love the starting pitchers like Glasnow and McClanahan and Eflin, they can't pitch all 9 innings, time in and time out. So something has to give at some point, but it's a really sour taste to go into the final couple of series before the All-Star break against not easy opponents with the likes of the Phillies and the Braves. So that is something to watch out for as well. We have more to discuss, but first we have to tell you this, which is very important. It is officially summer, and a new season means new clothes, but your closet shouldn't be the only thing growing when you make those purchases. Now you can also watch your cash back grow with each purchase with Ibotta. Ibotta, Ibotta, gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Either link your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop and get your cash back. It's that easy. The average Ibotta user earns $120 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, or you could use your cash back to buy that flight you've been eyeing, that game you're dying to go to, or the fancy dinner you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you get real cash back that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. You can earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers too, when you start with Ibotta, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and so much more. So let's get to the good stuff. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code MLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and use code MLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store, and use code MLB. All right, getting into some All-Star Home Run Derby related discussion. Ulises, what do you have besides what happened over the weekend between the Rays and the Mariners? Another big takeaway or two from this past weekend.
Yes. Before I do that, just I got kind of heated while you were doing the read, and I went finding a little more things about the bullpen. They're 29th in K per 9. That means that they're worse than the Oakland Athletics. If you think that the Rays should have a worse K per 9 rate than the Oakland Athletics regarding bullpens, we have another thing coming. So yes, the bullpen kind of mediocre. Don't let anybody fool you.
Look, I'd love to swap the Rays bullpen with the Royals bullpen, believe it or not.
I mean, well, hey, trades started to happen, so let's see if the Rays keep it happening. Chapman going to the Rangers. So the wheels are moving. Okay. Enough of the bullpen talk, or else I'm just going to be really angry.
Yes.
Okay. So I need to vent out about Wander Franco being snubbed in the All-Star game. It's fine that obviously with the market, it's very difficult to get race players to be in the All-Star game with the fan vote. I understand that. And we should understand that. Like, that's going to be difficult. In fact, I find it very good, very cool that 2 Rays players made the starting vote. Yandy Diaz and Randy Arozarena. That's really, really cool. We should not like that. That shouldn't be like, oh, we should have more starters. Like, no. Knowing the market, knowing how much other fan bases just push their own candidates without any merits. Really cool that the Rays got 2, right? That's number 1. But then the second vote, and this is, you might know a little bit more about this than I do, Kevin. It's done by not only the commissioner of baseball, like, the little council they have, but also players. It's players vote,
right,
for the reserves and the pitchers. And Wander Franco didn't make it there. And a guy like Whit Merrifield with 100 points less in OPS, 10 stolen bags less than Wander Franco, it's basically the same average, a worse K rate than Wander, a worse walk rate than Wander, less star power than Wander. Whit Merrifield made it. And so now this is where I'm going to ask all of you Locked On Rays listeners to get your tinfoil hat on, conspiracy hat on, and get that real tight. Let's get that real tight in here. And for those that you don't want to participate, then let us know why this is a folly conspiracy theory. Word gets around in clubhouses. And
yes,
when something so public as somebody being a bad teammate, I don't think other players take kindly to that, especially from the outside when they have no, personal attachment to that other person. It might be like, oh, well, I understand. No, there's none of that. Could the benching of Wander Franco have affected how the players voted for the All-Star Game reserves and not putting Wander Franco above a guy like Whit Merrifield?
Absolutely. I think there's absolutely some merit to that. It may be how he handles himself on the field and going into the dugout or after a bad moment. People notice things like whether you think it's cool for baseball or not cool for baseball when the opposition is on the other side of Flipgate, the ball flip to himself that Wander did, and other things like that. It has an impact. It has an effect. So I think there is something to be said to that. At the end of the day, when all the opt-outs and injured players step away from the All-Star game, I do eventually think that Wander will get in, but I think this maybe is a little bit of a punishment for him. But we should also acknowledge that it's not just a Rays thing, or it's not just, oh my gosh, Wander Franco was the only snub. There's a lot of other big names that were quote unquote snubbed from this year's All-Star game. If we want to go down the list of Tatis Jr., for example, he has a history. Rafael Devers, Ketel Marte, Yoshida, a lot of relievers as well, a lot of starting pitchers. So, but I think to your point, if I had to guess, that's probably a big part and a big reason for him not being added to the fold there.
Yeah, and because I don't think the voting had closed, maybe the players voting, but I mean that's why it's a conspiracy theory, because you don't really know when the last ballot by a player was casted. Was it before the Kansas City Royals benching that Wander saw? We don't know, but that's why I call it a conspiracy theory. If you think it has any sort of legs, please leave it down in the comments. If you don't, leave it down in the comments as well. But I just it strikes me as peculiar because literally, if you go to F4 or B War, Wander Franco is like top 3, top 5 in every category. I mean, it's really.
I really don't think a lot of players look at that. They focus on the batting average and home runs and RBIs and OPS still.
Yeah,
stolen bases. I mean, Wander's one of the leaders in the pack with 26, but they focus a lot more on those larger numbers as well. But I guess getting to another point here is, if you had the choice to swap out Randy or Yandy to start Franco or name Franco to the All-Star game, would you do it?
It's a terrific question. I do want to go back to the first point that you said. Will he eventually get in? I think so too. I think with so many injured players that are going to happen, and the whole like, I can't.
I just don't feel like going to the All-Star game. I want my 3-4 days off. I don't want to travel to Seattle and have to deal with all that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he does get in eventually. But that's a terrific question. And I think it's very difficult to put 100% on the basket, but I'm pretty sure Rays Nation would not trade Randy Arozarena or Yandy Diaz to get Wander Franco into the All-Star game. I would not do it either. I mean, not only because I think Wander Franco is going to have way many more opportunities than both of them in his career, or at least should, because of his pedigree, prospect pedigree. But also, again, the attitude thing, Yandy Diaz has never been benched. Randy Arozarena has never been benched, at least publicly. This guy was done publicly, man. Like, it was just like a, hey, did you ever watch Tom and Jerry growing up?
Bits and pieces, sure. Yeah.
Okay. They always had like this little bit, or maybe like old cartoons did too. They would put like the dunce hat, and then they would put like the character like in the corner of the room.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It kind of feels like that with the benching. Everybody point and look. This guy, bad teammate. Everybody point. This is it.
What they should do is put like a golden dunce cap on him and say, hey, look at this guy. He's second overall in WAR and baseball behind Ronald Acuna at 4.3, and he leads all American League players in that category.
And yet didn't make it because not enough players voted for him. Why didn't enough players vote for him?
And do coaching staffs also have the ability to vote, or is it just strictly player only?
From what I read, since 2017, managers have been prohibited from doing any voting because of conflict of interest issues. Okay. So not that I know of, but yeah, again, I feel like the Wander thing made the rounds so publicly.
Yeah, and maybe even before then, before he officially got benched, there had been scuttlebutt in discussion in the clubhouse of like, players talk, and they man, that Wander Franco, he's amazing. That guy is something else. Yeah, but you should hear some of the things he does in the clubhouse. You wouldn't believe.
Remember, for example, and that can be across leagues. Remember the Milwaukee Brewers played against the Rays at the Trop.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 games, Randy and Willie Adames were like this.
Yeah.
Now you tell me that Randy and Wander have beef. Not one comment was dropped by Randy to Willie. Not one comment was dropped about anything. Right. And then one of those comments was not dropped by Willie to other players in the clubhouse. And not even that. It doesn't even have to be that mischievous. It can also be we in the stadium, and we in watching on our comfy couches on TV, we don't watch every reaction. We can't see every reaction. Right. The players in the dugout do. They see everything. They can hear it too. So they're even more privy to that information than we fans do. Even if we watch, they might get more information from a 3-4 game series about the chemistry of what's going on in that other dugout than us do watching the game 81 times in our couch.
Oh, yeah, I think that's really fair. So, and at the end of the day, I know that, yes, Wander has been snubbed traditionally and statistically, but based on the suspension and based on what we've heard and based on what is going on, I kind of like the idea of making him wait and giving him a dose of reality and maybe come back down to earth a little bit, hopefully. And maybe, I don't know, just, put him more on even keel. So yeah, that is really interesting. I think at the end of the day, he will get his spot. I'll also be curious if any other Rays players get their spot or spots, be it Paredes, Josh Lowe, Luke Raley, Zach Eflin. If you had to put a number on it, would it just be Wander that gets in after all the opt-outs, or you think another Rays player will sneak in as well?
I would love to see Isaac Paredes be included in that conversation. I think he has been wonderful. And Zach Eflin, of course, he was my team MVP. So either of those 2 guys. But odds are that it's might just be Wander after some injuries or people opting out happen.
Speaking of All-Star Weekend, and also we've mentioned Randy Arozarena already, but he will be participating in the Home Run Derby, the third Tampa Bay player to ever take part, joining Longo in 2008 and Carlos Pena in 2009. And I think something like this is great for Randy to compete in the Home Run Derby. I think one thing, he had expressed his interest in the event, and I think Home Run Derby leadership probably desperate to get big name participants. So this is a perfect symbiotic relationship of, oh my gosh, somebody actually wants to compete in this thing and earn a little bit of pocket change, more than pocket change, but it also Randy capitalizing on the moment in the fame. And he's one of those it guys right now, harkening back to the World Baseball Classic. And he's having, I think, fair to say, the best year of his career. So I think it's really awesome from that perspective. Right now, it would be him, Pete Alonso, Mookie Betts, Vlad Guerrero, and Julio Rodriguez. So I believe that the event needs 3 more participants. Shohei Ohtani, Matt Olson, Luis Robert, Jorge Soler, Schwarber. Just a couple names out there. I know Jr. said skipping, but
you're not going to get your wish to see Matt Olson. He said no. He said politely no. So
yeah, I don't follow all the. Well, that's the thing too. Is like that's why it's so awesome that Randy actually wants to do this, because so many other players don't want to do this.
He wants to do it so badly. He pushed himself. He nominated himself in every interview that he could get, which is awesome. Good for him. And second of all, Trisha Whitaker put a video on Twitter yesterday of him practicing for the Home Run Derby. Chad Mottola was timing him. He hit 18 home runs and he took only 1 rest in like the 3-minute thing. So that's pretty cool. Like the guy, Randy Arozarena.
He's already a starter in the All-Star game. So this isn't something he necessarily had to do to get more fame and fanfare. I think it will help from that perspective, but it's not like, oh my gosh, I want my chance to get on the spotlight even though I'm not on the All-Star team. So I think it's really awesome. And I mean, if I had my druthers, I would love to see, no disrespect to Randy, but again, he is tied for 22nd in the league in homers. There are a lot of other guys who are quote unquote more deserving. When I think of Home Run Derby, I want a guy who's got like between 24 to 28 to 30 home runs. And I know there's not a lot of guys to pick from in that angle, but I guess my point is, I wish more people were interested like Randy is interested. And I would think that even guys who have big contracts, the total prize pool is $2.5 million.
Yep.
So the winner gets $1 million, and then the other $1.5 million is, given out in a tiered system. So, I mean, it's still, a decent amount of money. I don't know.
You say 24 to 28 by this point, which honestly, if we could have our cake and eat it too, I think that would be a really cool thing to see.
Yeah.
Question though, how many players hit 40 or more home runs last year?
How many hit more than 40 or more? I don't know. 3.
That's exactly it. Alonso, Schwarber, and Judge. That's it. So I think that's the 90s kids in us thinking,
right, yeah.
I want the 20-something guy, or like that's not a lot of dudes. It's not a lot of dudes that are going to hit 40 or more. So, in fact, only 21 players hit more than hit 30 or more home runs last year. So yeah, it's not the Home Run Derby that we grew up watching. And so yeah, I think they're going for more personality. And I mean, Randy has.
I'm not saying he's not deserving. I'm just saying
no.
that
I know
the guys who have 24, 25, 22 home runs, I wish they would say yes to this event.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just talking about like how, the Ronald Acuna, for example, he's not playing. He's not saying. Sorry, he's not playing in the home run derby. Yeah, I mean it's fun. I'm glad Randy's doing it. There's always the risk of your swing not being the same.
Right.
After it's a very tiring and fatiguing event that can mess up your swing for the rest of the season. I saw it first-handedly with Bobby Abreu in 2005.
Yeah.
2005 or 2006. I forget. I think it was 05, where he just went ape, shenanigans on the home run derby, and then his power swing was gone, man. It was just gone.
Yeah.
So,
and I also think tied with that is the swing, but also the energy that is expended during the course of a very long season where you don't get a lot of time after that to take a breather, because if Randy's also going to be playing in the All-Star game, that's another thing that is mentally, physically, emotionally draining to some extent. And it's not a lot of time off that turnaround. I mean, by the time you travel, from Seattle, get there, do everything you need to do, then get back, it's like, all right, get a day off, and then we're back at it. Let's get ready to roll. Got another 75 games to go before the playoffs.
And also, they're in Seattle too, so there's more of the travel that you've always pointed out this year, which is very, very on point with maybe how we've seen the Rays be a little bit more tired and kind of not as uppity up as we saw in the beginning of the season. It's just, their schedule has been very, very difficult. So, hey, great for Randy to participate. I'm glad. I can't wait until he just strikes a pose in front of Pete Alonso and wins it against the Polar Bear. I would love that.
I think Randy's motivated. He wants that any kind of money, dinero that he can get, because he's not on a long-term contract. I mean, This is like, he wins this thing, that's like 25% of his salary this year in a day.
Kevin's not kidding, people. Kevin's not kidding. If it's $1 million, he gets paid $4 million this year. So yeah, not kidding, not kidding at all. So hopefully he does do that. Didn't Pete Alonso also win it like back-to-back years when he was I think pre-arb, which meant that he made
more in that one event than which again, that's what they have to do if they really want to get people to participate. Maybe you need to up it even more. The winner gets $10 million. MLB has to have the money. I mean, guys are getting $400 million contracts.
The owners are going to tell you no, they don't have the money. Oh, Stu would be mad at you right now. He's calling in right now.
They're going to make that amount on parking for the July 4th game against the Phillies.
He also wants better parking for the Phillies. Kevin's going on the July 4th game. Yeah. Okay, I'll tell him. Yeah, there you go.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So so good luck to Randy. Will he get? I think we're both in agreement. He will get more than 20 home runs. Will he get to 25 home runs by season's end?
25.
He's at 16 right now.
Oh, that's tough.
He's also got to stay healthy.
He's got to stay healthy, and he has proven that he can. So I'm not going to even put that on him. I'm going to say 24.
Okay. In the comments, I want to see if anybody thinks that Randy can get to 30. Will he get to 30 by the conclusion of the 2023 season? There's got to be somebody out there.
There's
just
always
do the math.
somebody.
You're halfway through the season. He's got 16. He just needs
I bet if you tell somebody here, hey, do you think Randy Arozarena can hit 40? There's always going to be one dude that's like, fair. He can do it. Yeah. He can do it. Yeah, no. So we need to hear on those two things: conspiracy theory, and 2, if Randy's going to hit how many you said?
20. 30 by the end of the regular season.
Okay, let's do it. We want to hear you down in the comments. By the way, last week, great job, all of you, participating in the comment section with the podium, with everything else, with the MVP surprise. Like, that was awesome. You guys are filling up the comment boxes, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much for doing that. Keep doing that.
Yes, keep doing that. All right. Thank you all for listening. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.